Welcome everyone to the Valorx product webinar. We have a lot to go through today, so let's just go ahead and get started. So today's focus is on our version 2 of our Excel Pro product. You're seeing this first slide here. This is our tagline, make Excel the face of your CRM. So this is what we're setting out to accomplish, being able to take any CRM and essentially allow users to work through Excel while interacting with that CRM data. Quick agenda, so we'll do some introductions, again, introduce you a little bit more into our solution, the current state of things, and then we will be spending the majority of the time in a demo. My name is Jared Casper. I manage sales here at Valorx. You also see two other individuals and their respective roles. So our big idea, essentially, it's just keeping things simple. So users still leave their CRM quite a bit, and typically where they're going is Microsoft Excel. It's where they're familiar, it's where they're comfortable. So instead of having systems that aren't talking to each other, instead of trying to convert users from Excel into CRM and force them into a UI that they might not be familiar with or be as comfortable, or they just feel like they can get things done faster in Excel, just bring the two together. So by combining Excel and combining your CRM, the best of both places, the best of both worlds, but you're not having that issue that comes with having data in two different places. So, give users the ability to work where they want to work. And this kind of gets to the current state of things. So, there's so many amazing CRMs out there today, so many amazing enterprise applications, whether it's, your ERP system, whether it's, an HR system. And what tends to happen is users, again, still go to Excel for so many of their important tasks. And really, at the end of the day, enterprise apps are about one thing: control. It needs to be reliable. It needs to behave in a manner that is predictable. And it's because this is where our business is accounted for. And because of this, we end up locking down, every single keystroke. We implement our rules and our processes, and essentially we get away from that user experience. And because of this, because Excel is so easy to get things done, you can manage lists, you can manage quotes, you can manage your forecasts, whatever it may be. That's where users, tend to go. And almost every enterprise process has its equivalent process in Microsoft Excel. And it's because it's versatile, it's familiar. You get the freedom to do what you want. But Excel also has its issues. It's standalone. What you end up having is it's a manual process. You're retyping in data in two different areas. If even you're getting the information into your CRM, you're routing spreadsheets and documents to other users. You're trying to compare different versions that are out there. So our answer to this is Valorx. Get away from those standalone Excel spreadsheets. Keep using Excel, but connect it to your CRM. There's kind of 5 main areas where this product can be used. And one is, whatever you're already doing in your CRM today, whether you're managing, salespeople are managing their opportunities, or an inside sales team is managing activities and leads and contacts, or your sales operations team or your admins, whatever it may be. You can take any object, any table, and surface it into an Excel application. And essentially what you're giving users the ability to do is do things in bulk. You still get native Excel functionality, so sorting, filtering, but you get the speed and the user interface of Excel. So think of it that way. You can take anything you're doing in CRM and surface it to an Excel spreadsheet. You're still connected to your CRM. It's still recognizing who the users are based on their profile and permission. Same security. You're just going through a different user interface at this point. The kind of opposite of that approach is, if you already have something being done in Excel today, you already have a process, part of your business is running in an Excel spreadsheet. And these can be complex spreadsheets. They could be spreadsheets that have grown over the last 10, 15 years. And they have, multi-tabs, they have VBA, they have formulas. And those spreadsheets are extremely difficult to replicate in a CRM. You end up creating multiple pages. There's lots of different clicks now. And users are already comfortable with that Excel spreadsheet. So what you can do here is you can convert that standalone Excel workbook into an enterprise application. Continue to leverage what you're doing in Excel, but now connect your CRM so that data actually can go between the two systems, between Excel and between your CRM, and you get the best of both worlds. For administrators, again, the super users of your systems, the ones that are onboarding or looking at licenses or doing tasks like data migration, this is a product designed for end users, but it is very common that a super user or an admin would want to be able to do this type of data manipulation as well. Reporting, so if you're trying to extract any data out of CRM, again, there's no limitation on the type of objects or the number of objects that you can pull into a single application. So you can pull as much data as you would like, construct it into the view that you're looking to look at, and have a report now, and it's still bidirectional. So if in fact you do want to make changes directly in that report and have those changes reflecting your CRM, you can absolutely do that. And then finally, our second product, Valorx Wind. Everything that you're going to see today in the demo, everything that I've been talking about so far can run completely in the cloud. It's a experience where the user doesn't even need to see Excel. So Excel can run completely in the cloud. It's not on the user's machine. You can run your complex calculations and your VBA just like you normally would, but again, the user's not seeing that Excel workbook running. And you can also schedule this, and we'll take a look at that as well. Won't spend too much time on this slide. So the two product offerings that we have is in the top left-hand corner, our Excel UI and our Valorx Wind product. For implementation, we have a design studio where you'll see it today. It's very easy to use. You can set up applications in a matter of minutes. But if you do have something extremely complex, or if you just want somebody to build it for you, we do have certified partners that can help you out. And then the App Store. So instead of having to build things from scratch, being able to go to the App Store, see if something is already close to what you're looking for, being able to download it, make it, customize it to meet your needs, and then just go from there. Speaking of the App Store, why don't we actually just take a quick look. We'll see this in two places today. So, depending on your industry, depending on your role, depending on your department maybe, you might have an idea of an application, or you might be using something bolted onto your CRM, whether it's a financial force or whether it's a CPQ product. People have built these applications to talk to those other enterprise applications and talk to CRMs. And so you can simply come to our Valorx App Store, see if something already exists. Could be free, might be paid. These are going to be built by other customers, other users like yourself, built by us, built by partners. And you essentially can just, again, look through the categories, find an application, and we'll actually take a look at this in the demonstration as well. Okay, jumping back, again, kind of calls out some of the different departments and different use cases out there. So how does this work? So Valorx, there's two components to it. There's a package that you would install in your CRM, just one package, and then you install the client for your users. And that's essentially it. You control the access to your users in your CRM, so you either give them Design Studio access or runtime, and based on that, they're able to build applications or just run applications that have been already built. And then, if you have a Design Studio access, you can start building your applications right there. Okay, let's take a look at the product. So I'm just going to open up Excel. And this is going to be pretty quick. We'll take a step back in a second, but I'm just going to go to our tab, go to this favorites, click on this application, and immediately we are connecting to our CRM. The application is being downloaded from that environment, and we're up and running. I can click on a button, and data is retrieved. So wanted to show you just kind of what a typical user experience would be from an end user, where they can customize, each user can customize this list of favorites. It's going to be their favorites, and this is quite common. User just opens up Excel, they have their handful of favorite applications. There's no need to re-log in, just basically connect to your environment. You saw that take place, pick a favorite, your application opens, and you can even have the data get pulled in at the same time as well without having to click a button. But what you're seeing right now is an application that was set up to look at opportunities. So maybe this is a sales user. I want to be able to see my opportunities. Maybe you're a manager. And just very simple, straight out of the gate, one of the features that you'll see here is being able to jump around from record to record. If something is a pick list in your system, all data types are supported. Again, you can jump around, do things like this. And when you're ready, just simply click update. And immediately, real time, multiple records have been updated in your CRM. Anything like workflows or triggers or approval processes, those continue to work the exact same way. So truly an alternative user interface where a user can just now download a set of records, basically look at it, make changes, click update, and everything's back into Salesforce in this case. Couple things I want to point out in here though is we talked a little bit about pick lists. So stage is a pretty common pick list, but what I want to show a little bit more is the colors in here. So this is done in the design studio. There's no coding behind it. It's basically a configuration where you can just decide for a pick list, I want to apply a color per pick list value. And we'll look at this in the design studio. So trying to take out any type of coding that's needed from a user, being able to just apply this logic if you would like. And you can do a lot of different things here. You could decide you just want a color applied to your bottom two values, closed won and closed lost. Not only do you want the color to take up the cell itself, but you want it to expand for the entire row. The goal here is to draw your user's attention to where you want their focus to be. And speaking to that, we'll look at this column close date, and you can see here that the opportunities needing attention, there's a value here sitting at 23. And this is based again on some logic set up in Design Studio. There's no coding behind this. So the logic in this example might be, any opportunity that's going to close in the next month, I want to make sure a user is focused on it. Or maybe you want a rule that says, show users opportunities that haven't been modified in the last 7 days and are going to close in Q1, something like that. So take a look. I can make a change here. We'll bring this up a little bit, and you can see the color is added in here. If I brought it back out, color's gone. Again, it's a rule that was set up in the design studio, and we'll take a look at some of these in a second. The other thing I want to point out is how do lookups work on records. So, if we were to go to a record where there's a lookup to campaign, I could come in here, click on lookup. The lookup screen is configurable. So this is again done in the design studio. You can configure what fields, what filters you want the user to be able to search by, and then what's displayed here. So it doesn't have to match up. You could have different fields in the filter than you have actually displaying. And then you also have the ability to do different type of operators. So, you might want to say, I want to see where these statuses are found. And notice that we have one record that matches this. We'll look at an example of this where we have more data, but you'll see how quick this table as a screen is to do some data mining. Now I can come in here, pick a record, click update, and we've now set that lookup. You can also do things in bulk. So if I wanted to come in here and do something like this, make changes, click update, you can absolutely do that. So somewhere where you might want to change, all opportunities that are owned by a certain user or all accounts owned by a sales rep and assign it to a different rep. Maybe there's a territory change. Maybe that rep left the company. You can do those types of things in bulk very quickly. One other thing I want to show in here is on the right-hand side, there's this column called transaction status. Transaction status is not a field in your CRM. It's a field that as you're building these applications in Design Studio, you have the option to add it to any map. So this is a map right now of opportunity records. You'll notice, and we'll look at this in the Design Studio, you can choose this for any type of map, whether it's a grid like this, whether it's a header field like a form. And what this is essentially telling the user, it's confirming them after a record has been updated that with a success message. So it can either be a success, can be a skipped, or it could be a failed message. So we'll make a quick change again. And why don't I just change this to new business, and we'll click update. Here we have that success message coming. And this message can then be used not only just to confirm to the user that this record was updated, but you can also apply an additional, let's say, query off of it. So what these buttons up top, and we haven't talked too much about it, is they're running workflows. These workflows are configurable, and based on some piece of information like the transaction status, this could be piped into a workflow to go fetch a different set of data. Last couple of things I want to show in this example. Let's show a save condition. So let's say you set up a save condition where if something isn't met, you don't want that record to be updated. So I have a save condition in here saying that I won't allow an opportunity to be updated if the amount is below 500. So let's just go ahead and click update again. Here we have a summary screen that's telling me that a record was skipped. It's giving me this message that I typed in that I want the user to be able to see. It's telling me which row is affected. And if we navigate to the right-hand side, you'll notice that the transaction status is equaling skipped. Very last thing in here is, let's show what happens if there's some type of validation. So in this case, our skipped message is still present because it's still here. And it's also telling me that one opportunity record failed because our required field is missing. In this case, it's a close date. And again, if we navigate to the right, we're seeing that transaction status equal failed. So why don't we just quickly update this record, update this record. Let's make it a little bit better of a number. Click update again. And you'll notice on the right-hand side that our failed message became a success and our skipped message also became a success. So this example is very straightforward. It's just a single object opportunities. I haven't pointed this out, but again, you are in Excel, so any Excel functionality that you're comfortable with or familiar with, filtering, sorting, you can leverage that just like you normally would. I wanted to show another tab in here. So because there's no limit to the number of objects that you can pull from in a single application, you can have objects across as many tabs as you would like. You can also have as many objects as you would like in a single tab. We'll look at some of those examples. So here we have a bunch of contacts. If I wanted to, let's say, delete records, you can delete actually. It's again based on your permission. So if you don't have the ability to delete in your CRM, you wouldn't be able to do it here. If you wanted to insert records, so let's say I came over here and I said, and why don't we make some updates in here? Sales Director 1. Why don't we change the lead source here? And finally, let's associate this to an account. Perfect. And let's click update. So in that case, we just created a record. If we go back to opportunities again, and we just do one more insert in here, last thing I want to show is a new row has been added. And again, this is showing us that we're about to create a record. You can actually, in the Design Studio, come up with default values. So in this case, I've defaulted the stage to equal prospecting. Maybe you know that for opportunities when they're created, 50% or 80% of the time that users select prospecting. So if that's the case, make their life easier, set these default values. There's nothing stopping a user from coming in here and still changing it. We also put a default value here and a default value here. So again, no coding behind this. We'll look at this in a second in the Design Studio on how you can actually do this. Why don't we just associate this opportunity to an account? And because I know these are all required fields, I'm just going to go ahead and do this. And again, instead of an update, you're seeing an insert message. Okay, very last thing in here is you can have as many of these buttons as you would like. You can arrange them in any way you would like. You can group them. You can make them big icons, small icons. We'll look at that as well. But in this case, we have a completely different user flow. Instead of just clicking a button and retrieving everything, maybe a user wants to tell the system, I only want to look at opportunities for these set of accounts. So in this case, again, we're seeing the different filters. So I can come in here and I could say, I want to see all accounts where the industry equals consulting. Very quickly, we're seeing 45 accounts match this. You can do any combination here and or capabilities. Let's just go ahead and pick a single account, click on next. And without leaving the workbook or going into a different tab, the set of data now is based on what we provided as an input. We said we wanted this account, and we're seeing the opportunities for just this account. So you can very quickly look at a subset of data, make your changes, update records in here, and then maybe you want to do this again and pick a different set of accounts. So very quick, you can do these types of things. Okay, moving on to a different application. We're actually going to look at the start screen. So if you didn't go through the favorite screen, you actually could go through the start screen. And this is where you can see all the applications. This is where you can see where I've toggled on my favorites, and that's why it's showing up in my favorites dropdown. I do have Design Studio access, so I can see some other additional columns in here. Let's go ahead and pick one of these. So in this application, we're going to be looking at information coming from an account. So that's our header. We're going to be looking at opportunities used two different ways, open opportunities, and then all my opportunities that are closed won, closed lost. On our second tab, we have our cases and our contacts. And then finally, we have campaigns and campaign members. Again, just to show everyone that there's no limit on the number of objects. We also are looking at buttons arranged a little bit differently. We're looking at when they're listed as smaller and not large icons. And you're seeing two different groups here. So I could come in here, pick an account. We'll use that same account we selected earlier. You'll notice that we don't have the checkboxes next to this because I'm only allowing a user to pick a single account. This is not a multi-select. Let's go ahead and say next. And at this point in time, information is coming from our account into our header fields. I can open this up a little bit more. Opportunities that are open are sitting in here. Opportunities that are closed are sitting down here. If you have Excel formulas, these will automatically expand. So that formula was written by the individual who was building the application, but they don't know before the app runs how many records are actually going to get brought in. So in this case, this formula expanded to take a look at this grid above, and this one's looking at this grid as well. Cases and contacts, we're seeing our list in here as well. And in this example, I mentioned this earlier, we set a color to just be for negotiation and review. So maybe when a user clicks on negotiation and review, you want the focus to be brought there. And again, this is just coloring this cell. If you wanted for the entire row, you could do that as well. We can make some changes together. Go ahead and change this value. Why don't we go ahead and come over here, and you're in Excel, so you could do something like that. Finally, I will come in here and insert two rows. Why don't we just pick one more? And we will be good there. Let's go ahead and say update all. So I want to show the summary here for a second. So what we're looking at right now is one account record was updated. I think we updated the number of employees. Two different opportunity records were updated. We updated one in the open grid, and we updated another in the closed grid. And maybe you have a rule that you can't actually update closed opportunities. In that case, it wouldn't have allowed me to do this. We updated 3 case records. I think we just dragged the phone down, and we inserted 2 contact records. So simultaneously, we just worked across 4 different objects, making updates, making inserts, and at the very end, when we clicked save, all of this different information was fed back to our CRM. Okay, the last example, let's actually jump over to Salesforce for this. For today, our Salesforce, ServiceNow, and Microsoft Dynamics. We are working on a few other ones, which are coming fairly soon. But let's go ahead and look at this. ServiceNow, their incidents table. And from a functionality standpoint, again, everything's going to work the same way. We're just looking at a different CRM. We're looking at a different table, but there's no restriction on the number of columns that you want in here, nor the tables that are being used in here. We're just going to look at a different CRM because we haven't done that yet. So let's go ahead and click on a button. And something common in here might be, I want to look at, maybe let's go ahead and delete. What I wanted to show is, you might have, tickets, or in this case, incidents, where, nobody's been assigned to them. So maybe you want to, really quickly see, do we have any incidents that isn't assigned to anybody? Come in here. Again, you can use that lookup feature. You can configure this anyway. So in this case, we're getting a name and an ID. If you don't want the ID column, you don't have to have it. We can do something like this. I can make some changes here. And finally, let's just do save again. So again, same functionality that you've been seeing so far, just looking at it from a different CRM. Okay, so let's jump over into Design Studio. First thing I actually want to show is the Valorx App Store. So we looked at this on the website, but what I want to show here is this list will be the same that's sitting on that Valorx store on the website, but I want to show you the ability to actually customize an application. So why don't we look at one? Let's say, I'm building an application for users to manage their opportunities, and I see something in here that's called Opportunities List. So I can just go ahead and say Get. Now, immediately when an application, you're in this screen, we are also making recommendations based on your customizations to this object. You might have your own additional fields. You might not be using fields that somebody else has added to their application. You also will see the different objects that are listed. In this case, there's just a single object. And if I went in here and clicked on Customize, here are the fields that are currently in the application. Here are the fields that are in my CRM that aren't in here. So maybe I say something like, I want the tracking number, the order number, the opportunity type, the next steps, and the lead source. And I want to bring them right here. And it's as simple as that. I've now added my custom fields to this pre-built application. And if I wanted to remove some things, I could say, I don't need this fields. I don't need this fields. And maybe I don't need these two fields. Now, what's important is once you've made your customizations, we will record those transcriptions, and we will keep those transcriptions in this application for you so that when a developer of the original application maybe updates it, there's a version 2. And if you want to use that version 2, you want to take those new features and new changes. You're not starting from scratch. It will remember your customizations. You don't have to reapply them. And you'll be able to take those customizations or what customizations you would like to take. So this is a living and breathing application that will just continue to move and grow with you as you continue to take different versions from the App Store. We're actually going to have a dedicated App Store webinar in the future. It's part of our webinar series, so keep an eye out for that. But it will just be specifically on, how to promote your applications, how to move things to the App Store, and then how to do something like this as well. And if I set apply changes, notice that we now are seeing customize, or it's custom. Okay. I just wanted to point that out in the App Store, but let's jump to the Design Studio. So we've seen this screen briefly, but what I want to show is a couple things in here. So let's say you build your applications in an environment. I'll jump back to UAT. Here's a list of all of them, and I want to move them or promote them to another environment, whether I'm moving it to production or, in this case, a developer instance. I could just simply do this. Select which apps I want to promote, click on promote, and our applications can move from your source to your target just like that. Very quick. Other things I want to show in here is we took a look at the favorites list, but you can also have favorites in Design Studio. This is how you would jump into the design of an application. This is how you would run an application. Here's where you can clone. So everything is clonable. You'll see that in the Design Studio in a second. And here's our app admin, some features that you can also play around with. If you want to create a new app, here's that new app. You can give it a name, decide if you are just starting from a blank Excel workbook, or maybe you already have an existing workbook that you want to upload in here. Okay, let's look at the very first application that we looked at through the Design Studio eyes now. So I'm going to jump right to workflows. So you can have as many workflows as you would like. Typically, a workflow is associated to a button, and when that button is clicked, that workflow will run. So a very simple workflow in here is basically what you're looking at right now. You can rearrange things, do something like that, and play around with it. But essentially what this is saying is retrieve all your opportunities. And then because we wanted the accounts or the contacts to be based off of this, we retrieved the accounts that were sitting on this opportunities and then retrieved the contacts, and then we displayed the data. To create other tasks, you create it right here on the left-hand side. You can see the other tasks that are supported. This, again, is a very simple workflow. We're going to have a webinar on the decision and connect API, some of the more advanced tasks as well. If you wanted to launch this from your CRM, which was that one example, this is how you enable it. Some instructions in here. If you want this to run right when the app opens up, you can enable this. Your Excel ribbon. So if you want to be able to associate an icon to it, we have some out of the box. You can also type in from the Office store their icons, what the button is called, if it's small or large. And then this is the Win product. So we didn't really go through this very much. We're going to have a webinar on the Win product as well. But if you wanted to schedule this, notice that I can come in here. There's instructions as well. You can decide what frequency you want to schedule this: daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. So if I came in here and said weekly, I might say Monday, Wednesday, Friday. When do I want to start this? Oh, I want to start it tomorrow. You could pick a time. And then if you leave the end of schedule unchecked, it'll just keep running. But if you do want to stop it, this is also where you could tell which date you want to stop, and then the occurrences, so the frequency. So here's how you set up wind. Let's look at the maps section within here. So we talked a lot about some of the features that a individual in the design studio can actually play around with. So here is where, for that stage dropdown, we had associated a color. So it's as simple as this. You check the box, and then you can come into settings. It will default with the color scheme that we've come up with. If you want to change this, you absolutely can. If you wanted to associate, just these two values, closed lost and closed won, with colors, you can do that. Here's where you could apply that color to the entire row. So this is how easy it is to configure that color scheme for your pick list. For the close date, if you recall, we wanted a color to show if there is a close date between, let's say, these two dates, or you want to set it for a fiscal period or a quarter for you. You can absolutely do that. The default values. So when we added a new record, this is how that default value is populated. Again, very straightforward. If it's a pick list, it'll show you the pick list values. I might say need analysis. If you wanted to put a date in here, you could do that as well. And then here are the other two default values. Here's how we configured that lookup screen. So when we picked on a campaign, here's where we decided what can be searched on, what can be displayed, and the different operators. You'll see the different operator options that you do have. Two other things in here is display options. So if you recall, we were playing around with that transaction status, the success, skipped, and failed message. It's as simple as this. Check the box. Again, it's not a field in your CRM. If you check it, that's enabling it for whatever map you're currently sitting in, and then you can apply it to your map. There's some other functionality at the map level for inserting or deleting. We have a video around that as well. And then save options. If you recall, we had a rule that said, don't allow that opportunity to be saved if the amount is not greater than 500. And then this is where you have that custom message. Very simple. And you can have as many conditions as you would like. So if this condition is found, but then this condition isn't, you can stop it there. And you have the filter logic as well, the and/or capabilities. Okay. So that's essentially it from the design studio. Hopefully you guys were able to take a good look at what this looks like from an end user. You got an idea of what it looks like to build applications. We hope you guys are excited to use the design studio. You can actually go through a trial today. If you go to our website, I'll just jump back here as well. And you go right here, you'll see this try Valorx for free. Come in here, sign up, put your credentials in, and you'll be able to download the product and get going instantly. You can also request the Valorx team assist you in setting up an application. We will provide up to 4 applications or 20 hours of free services for a trial like that. Or if you just want to discuss a potential application or a use case, maybe you have a spreadsheet that you're already using today and you want to connect it to your CRM, or you're using CRM today, but your adoption is not where you want it to be, or you think there's a use case where users would want to do things in bulk. We're happy to take a look at those type of items. Finally, if you're a partner and you're interested in doing implementations, let us know. We're happy to have a discussion around that, or if you want to introduce us to one of your customers. Again, but thanks everyone for sticking around. Very nice to meet everyone virtually, and we will be sending this recording out